So I had been working as an assistant director in Bombay when I came across this story, and I was quite disillusioned by the way things worked in Bombay. I was on this film set where I was the only, and in a lot of ways it was not different. Like I keep getting asked how was it working as a woman in Malegaon. But actually, when I was assisting on a film, I was the only woman on that set also. So, so it's not like Bombay was very progressive and Malegaon was a regressive space. And on that Bombay shoot, they wouldn't have a toilet for women because I was only one person, and why bother? So I was kind of disillusioned with how things worked there. And then I read about these people in Malegaon who were making films for driven by the passion for cinema rather than anything else. And that's what drew me to Malegaon. And then they were making Superman, and we kind of stuck around and documented that.
Hey Faiza, it's really nice to have you here today. So we've just seen your wonderful film Supermen of Malegaon today. My first question is, what is it about the documentary form that sort of appeals to you, that speaks to you?
I think what primarily draws me to it is the newness of it. How you can't predict what you're going to get. And so you have to respond to the situation as it happens. I feel quite excited working with that kind of a format, which is unscripted, and you're responding to the situation.
So your film, in a way, is a little atypical because documentaries typically don't have a lot of humor in them. How did you strike that right balance between being funny but it not completely being a light-hearted take on what was happening and still being a kind of in-depth look and a very humanistic way of looking at these subjects?
I think that's the way I see the world. I like to look for moments of humor even in serious situations. And I think this subject lent itself to that quite easily because, in the way they speak, because Malegaon has a very strong shairi culture, and this culture of satire in Urdu literature is something that they deploy a lot anyway, not just in their writings but in their daily interactions.
हमारे पास वो सहूलत नहीं है फिल्में बनाने। खास बात तो पहले ही है कि यार आवाज़ वैसी नहीं है मगर हम गाना गा रहे हैं। तमाम बातें ऐसी हैं। खास बात तो पहले यही आई है हैरत की कि पास में कोई सामान नहीं है, जंग लड़ रहे हैं और जीत भी रहे हैं।
So that was already kind of the flavor of conversation, in Malegaon, and so it was easy to kind of work with that and then build from there.
And because you've been working in the field for a while, documentary as a form is also involved. Like, I mean, it's almost like filmmaking started with documentary, right? Because they shot people coming out of a factory and things like that. Where do you think it's headed?
I think because now the ecosystem has changed in terms of how you view media, not just documentary. I think there's a term that people are using called expanded documentary. I think that is gaining currency, and I feel like because the ecosystem is changing, there is lots more that you can do with it. Because things are online, you don't have to make one produced work. You can have a constellation of material that is still documentary. Your research your research material is as legitimately a form, a document that you can put out. It doesn't have to go into one film. So I feel like the term documentary is expanding because of also the ecosystem of viewing that has changed.
Yeah, interesting. So it's almost like, I mean, it's almost like the same then piece of material can have multiple lives and can be viewed from various angles now because of the kind of technology or medium you have access to.
Yeah, exactly. And it, I mean, in some ways, it also allows the viewer to get into it in a way that is, interesting for them. They can look at material differently than they would be able to earlier. Engage with it differently. I think online now allows for a lot of these.
There's one question that struck me, which I'll ask you. Now we've got so much, like this, like AI and technology has caught up enough to make things that are not real look very real. So deep fakes or AI or whatever. So how do you view documentaries telling whatever version of truth? Obviously, it's filtered from the perspective of the filmmaker. Now, with this context, that there are things out there that may not be true at all, but look very real.
I think AI is another tool in your toolkit, and so it's really about how you deploy it. And of course, if you're creating it, if you're using it to create, a situation, then there's a politics to that as well, which I guess this is the truth of our times, and that one has to factor that in as well when you try and understand a piece of media. But yeah, I think I see it as a tool in the toolkit.
But I think for viewers, I think media literacy is also becoming a more important thing now, and how to evaluate things that you're receiving.
Correct, and I feel like that itself is an interesting media project for students to take up. How do you read images that are coming to you, or like what is what's the infrastructure that's shaping what you're seeing?
Right.
I feel like that's a format. This was also a format. We were choosing to follow, things as they were playing out. That was the choice that we had made for our narrative. And I don't think the way that these other films are, they're interview heavy or whatever. That's also a format, and it works for certain things. So I don't necessarily kind of have anything too critical to say about that, but I enjoy working with a format where things are unfolding and you're kind of documenting things as they go. इसमें भी बहुत editing है, like we shot 250 hours of footage and cut into a 1-hour film. So there is a lot of editing that goes into this as well, but it's just a different form.
I just want your comments on this idea of documentaries telling the truth or portraying something or portraying reality.
So yeah, this is I think ये बहुत we get this a lot कि documentaries should be telling the truth and this objective gaze of the documentary, but actually there is no objectivity. The minute you put a camera, people are performing for it, and ultimately whatever you make is your subjective kind of gaze. And documentaries, I feel like, capture the essence of something, but it's not necessarily what you would say is the journalistic truth, and that is the difference between journalism and documentary. There is an amount of creativity that is involved in crafting a documentary. It's not just कि camera रख दिया और चीजें हो रही हैं. It's not that. There is, you kind of, in the shooting as well as in the editing, you are creating drama. You're crafting it like film that will take you through highs and lows and develop characters.
वो पोल इधर मेरा गलत रास्ते पे चले गया था। अच्छा उधर कर क्या रहे हैं आप? ये लोकेशन देख रहा ऊपर का, कैसा लगता है ऊपर से?
उधर से क्या शॉट लेंगे?
ये सुपरमैन का उड़ते हुए वो कैमरे से एंगल लूंगा मैं।
तो सुपरमैन को कहाँ उड़ाएंगे?
वो तो क्रोमा भी उड़ाऊंगा, यहाँ से ऐसे उड़ते जाएगा तो ये फ्रेम ऐसे लूंगा मैं, ये इतना।
यहाँ पे शूट करने की परमिशन है?
हाँ मिल जाती परमिशन।
किससे? So, for example, in the documentary, a lot of things that you see, which you think happened at a certain point, actually happened much before, much later, and it's a creative kind of process,
Yeah.
not journalistic in that way.
It is storytelling
It is
after all.
storytelling,
Yeah.
yes.
And the next question is quite a typical one, but let's see if I can phrase it a bit differently. And let's not say advice, but say somebody is wanting to get into making documentaries or dealing with factual content. What would you tell them, like as an approach, or what would be your message? And advice is the wrong thing to say, but say if there's a philosophy that you would like to leave them with, maybe think of it like this.
I think in terms of working with something, not to get into something being sure of what you're going to make, but to leave place, to be curious and then leave place for things to evolve and develop. Because real life situations often surprise you in ways that you can't script in. And so to leave room for that, but to be curious, I think that's a good starting point.
Yeah. So I'd just like to thank Faiza for being here with us and spending time with us today. Thank you.
Thank you.